Section number 1 of The Black Cat, Volume 6, Number 5, February 1901. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Black Cat, Volume 6, Number 5, February 1901, Section 1, The Smile of Joss, by William J. Neidig. When he washed the dishes, Sam Wren threw off his white apron, drew on his surtout, and went downtown. Not to the Joss house, nor the theater, nor Li Hung Ching's tan game. No! Sam was not such a heathen. Instead, he headed straight for the Mission, where there was to be an entertainment that evening. Sam was walking quietly along, looking neither to the right nor the left, when a bit of red paper fluttered to his feet. The paper contained his name, with the legend, "Look out for Ah Fat," in Chinese. When you find a piece of red paper in the street in Chinatown with your name on it, and the legend, "Look out," in Chinese, it means that you've been doing something that someone doesn't like. It means that somebody has given your name to the devil. Red paper stands for devil. Ah Fat stands for, well, Sam Wren knew who Ah Fat was. The warning was evidently from a friend. One would think that a Chinaman with a good conscience would not be looking back over his shoulder every few rods to see if he were being followed by the great black bogie. That is, a Mission Chinaman, who didn't believe in black bogies, and didn't care a tea leaf whether the devil's eye had a cinder in it from his sandalwood incense or not. Still, it makes a difference when you know the devil has your name. It's just as well to keep your eyes open when you know a devil is after you. Devils have black teeth, they say. That's so you can't see them when they grin at you in the dark. Never look for a devil's teeth. It's pretty hard to see a devil, unless you get him in the light. Sam was nearing his journey's end, and nothing had happened. When he should have passed the next dark alleyway, he would be all right. That's as close as devils ever get to the Mission. It was lighter across the street. Sam thought he would cross the street before he got to the dark alleyway. Besides, walking was easier across the street. Sam crossed the street. He came opposite the dark alleyway. Almost he was entirely past its menace, when suddenly there was a little cough of fire from the very center of the darkest place of all. Ping! Went a bullet, smash against the fence. Another shot and another. Ping! Ping! The bullets followed him, and he thought he was gone. Now for the Mission. Ping! The last bullet struck in the door jamb as he burst open the door of his haven. Confucius! But it was a close shave. Sam Wren knew a thing or two that he did not learn at the Mission about devils. He knew perfectly well which of the Sui Sing hatchet boys it was that had shot so wretchedly. Useless knowledge. Ah Fat was a poor shot, that was true. But he could use a knife beautifully, and he was patient. If he did not get his Chinaman this time, he would the next, and he was experienced. One corner of the graveyard belonged to him, and he was sly. He had never yet been caught at his mischief, and he was not alone. The Sui Sing Tong was behind him. Ah Fat was the most desperate highbender in the Sui Sings. Indeed, they had but three. The Sui Sings were a little short on high binders. Ah Fat and Louis Ling and Louis Cam constituted the entire force. Three men had stepped out from the alleyway. Sam Wren knew who they were. It doesn't pay to stick your nose in other people's business. It doesn't pay to stand in with the reform work and help tear low-browed slave girls from their purchasers. You are liable to get hurt if you happen to be a Chinaman yourself. Sam slammed the door of the Mission and ran squealing to the men's quarters. He threw himself upon a bunk and drew the covers over his head. His breath came in gasps. He lay shuddering and cowering, and muttered strange words between his chattering teeth. These reformers carry a thing too far. He had never intended to antagonize the entire Sui Sing Tong. Too late now. He was as good as dead now. All the lady reformers in this world couldn't save him now. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, midnight. One by one, the mission boys had gone to bed. The house was quiet as the dead earth. Every Chinaman in his bunk, and every Chinaman was asleep. Every one, save only Sam Wren. Sam Wren lay like a corpse, with his face to the wall, and the blankets drawn over his head. There was not the slightest pulse of blood in his body. It is a terrible thing to have the hatchet boys after you. King, the mission housekeeper, before kicking off his embroidered holiday slippers, had struck 3 or 4 pieces of sandalwood punk in a flower pot and lighted them. It was not superstition, although, indeed, there's nothing like sandalwood punk for scattering devils. No, it was merely that he liked the fragrance of the burning incense. After a time the room became sweet and pleasant, and lost the disagreeable laundry smell that somehow hangs about a Chinaman's lodgings when you don't burn something to drive it away. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. The air was heavy with smoke, and the punk sticks had at last been consumed by the gnawing glowworm that will eat straight through into the heart of a devil if he comes too close. Sam was still awake, shuddering beneath his blanket. Suddenly he sniffed. It was the incense from the burning sandalwood that penetrated to his nostrils. Sweet and pungent, it carried him back 1,000 years, to when he was young, to when he kneeled prostrate before his Joss and took the oath of the Sam Yup, and had no fear in his heart. Now he was no longer a heathen and was afraid. Why was he afraid now, and not then? Perhaps it was because of his enemies. Perhaps it was because Joss stood in with you. If you burned enough paper devils before him, when you had enemies that you wanted to kill, the mission ladies wouldn't let you kill your enemies. It's pretty bad when you can't kill your enemies, and they are after you with pistols and knives and sandbags. Joss, of course, is a wicked old heathen god, but he lets you kill your enemies. 2 o'clock and 15 minutes. The Sam Yups kept their Joss house open all night, because you never can tell when you are going to need a Joss house. Sam Wren softly crept out of his bunk and slipped on his shoes. Then, with infinite patience, he unbolted the back door, felt his way down the back stairway, and lost himself in the blackness of the street. He knew that there was a hatchet boy in the black alleyway, because the Suisings never let up on a man once they started in, and so he was very careful and kept away from the hatchet boy. At last he arrived at the Joss house, and the sleepy old sentinel passed him through the tortuous, smoky corridors into the presence of Joss himself. He bought of the old man some punk, and some red papers that represented the different orders of devils. Sam buried his incense in the way prescribed by his Tong ancestors. It is very simple. First you light 2 punk sticks, 1 for each hand, and hold them before the face of Joss, your eyes on the ground. Then you bend forward and press your forehead against the sacred mat, holding your punk sticks so that the feet of Joss shall be shrouded in smoke. Then you chant the sacred lines of your Tong, having care to use only the Mandarin dialect. When your chant is ended, you may withdraw backward, bending low your forehead thrice toward the floor. Now with face averted you rise. You turn with your back toward Joss. The old priest, with much ceremony, gives over to your keeping the red paper devils which you are to burn, and you light them, one after another, until they are all consumed. No tiniest fragment must escape the flame. If one should get away with his wings singed, or if a fragment of one should not be burned, that devil would take up his residence in your house. Nobody ever lets a devil get away from him. Sam flaunted his incense before the face of Joss, and bowed his forehead to the sacred mat, and backed away, and turned, and burned his devils without so much as a fragment of any one of them getting away. Then he went straight to the corner of the room, where there was a door. He knew now that Joss would smile upon him. The old priest unlocked the door that opened into the closet of mystery. Sam selected a slender, keen-edged knife and a stouter stiletto from what was therein displayed, and hid them in his blouse. Then he slipped out into the street and lost himself once more in the night. But it was no longer Sam Wren, the mission proselyte, trembling for his life, no longer Sam Wren, the timid Chinese cook. It was Sam Wren of the Sam Yups, with a knife in his hand, and the smile of Joss in his heart. Save for the halo of an occasional street lamp, the night was pitch black. Sam slipped from doorway to doorway, shadow to shadow, street to street, and there was no one to see him. He was part of the night. Now he enters a narrow areaway. He creeps along the ground. He flattens himself against a fence. Cautiously, swiftly, surely, he makes his way through backyards and around obstructions, approaching the mission nearer and nearer. 3:30. Sam Wren, the Sam Yep Man, presses his body through a hole in a fence and crouches in the blind alleyway that shelters his enemies. He must be very careful now. He knows that one of the Suey Sings still holds guard before the mission. He knows that the Hatchet Boys are patient fellows and never sleep. Perhaps it is Ah Fat who is watching. Perhaps it is one of the others. Whichever it is, he is not asleep. The Suey Sings never sleep when they are on a spoor. Very softly and stealthily, the Sam Yep Man steals forward. Joss has lent him an invisible cloak and feet that make no noise. Nearer, nearer, nearer he draws. He is crawling on his hands and knees in the black angle where the fence meets the ground. The Suey Sing man ought to be very near. There is no telling. It is too black to see. 1 foot, 2 feet more. It is blacker than black ahead. Another advance. Slowly, slowly. Nearer, nearer, nearer. The blackness takes form. There is something in the alleyway. Very softly, the Sam Yep Man rises. He bends forward. The black body is an ash barrel, but against it, with his face turned in the other direction, leans the Suey Sing Hatchet Boy. Sam Wren steals, forward, still forward. He moves an inch in a week. Almost he is near enough to strike. Almost. He places his hand upon the ash barrel. He leans over it, forward, forward, forward. He raises his firm right hand very carefully, very patiently. With a swift stroke, he draws it across the shadow, close under the chin. The Suey Sing man falls and gurgles a little and lies very still. The Sam Yep Man wipes his knife on the Suey Sing man's blouse. When the Suey Sing man had quit kicking, the Sam Yep Man took him by the heels and dragged him behind the ash barrel. Then he took up his position where the other had stood and waited. He knew that the others would be along before daylight. He knew that they were expecting Sam Wren, the stupid cook, to leave the mission at an early hour. The white man who employed him had to have his breakfast. No doubt his stupid cook never dreamed that the Suey Sing boys would wait for him all night. Sam Wren waited and waited, and the night grew blacker as it grew older. 4:00. It is time the Suey Sings were at their post. 4:15. Someone is coming up the street. The Sam Yep Man never moves a muscle. The footsteps draw nearer. They're at the head of the alley. The Sam Yep Man does not seem to notice them. They pass up the street. The Sam Yep Man can tell a Chinaman's wooden footsteps as far as he can hear them. It was probably a printer on one of the morning papers. Now there is another sound of footsteps in the street. Another printer has finished his work and is going home. The footsteps approach the head of the alleyway, and then they stop for a moment. They begin again. A muffled black figure enters the fatal court. Not a word is spoken. Not a word of greeting passes between the watcher of the night and his brother, Suey Sing, who comes to reinforce him at the appointed hour. The black shape draws quite close to the ash barrel. The next moment the newcomer falls like a log, with a stiletto through his heart. Beautiful work! Ah Fat couldn't have done it cleaner. That Sam Yep Man lets Louis Cam lie where he falls, for he has Ah Fat still to reckon with. Ah Fat is not the man to walk up and let a friend run a stiletto between his ribs, that is sure. Ah Fat is the keenest of the lot. No doubt he will have a good deal to say about the disposition to be made of knives and stilettos in his neighborhood. It is still very dark. Now and then someone passes in the street. Now and then in the distance can be heard the rumble of milk wagons and produce carts. There are people who never keep Sunday, it seems. The terrible leader of the Suey Sing Hatchet Boys came sooner than was expected. That is to say, he came without the warning sound of shuffling wooden shoes, and without any signal whistle. For the rest, when his gaunt shape loomed up before Sam Wren, the Sam Yep man was ready for him. "Ha! I smell blood," said Ah Fat in his thick Canton Chinese. "He bled like a hog," replied Sam coldly in the same dialect, speaking as few words as possible. Ah Fat betrayed neither emotion nor surprise. He kicked the body with his foot. Then he fished out a match and leaned over the corpse, lighting the match upon his shoe. "You got to be damn sure," he said as he held the flame over the dead face. Sam Wren was standing behind him, and when the other bent over the dead man, Sam seized his Sui Sing pigtail firmly in one hand, jerked his head back sharply, and slit his throat from jowl to jowl. The blood spurted forth upon the ground. Ah Fat lurched forward in his rage, fumbling at his pocket. Then he tried to rise, but his knees weakened and would not support him. Sam Wren plunged his knife into his back, where the heart ought to be. Ah Fat tumbled over on his face. His hands twitched a little, his legs kicked a little. The horror at his throat gurgled a little. And then he went to join the ancestors of his tongue. And that was the end of the terrible three. The Sam Yup man felt of each to make sure that he was dead before he left them. The blood flowed once more through his veins. He was contented in his heart. He wanted to dance. He wanted to cry aloud. He felt gloriously exultant. But he did not dance, nor sing, nor cry aloud. It was beginning to grow gray in the east, and it would soon be breakfast time. Sam Wren, the Sam Yep man, wiped the blood from his hands on the clothing of the dead Chinaman, and the soles of his shoes also, where he had stepped in the crimson puddle. Then Sam Wren, the cook, went home and got breakfast. It is a beautiful thing to feel that you are a member of the great human family. In the morning, after he had finished up his work, Sam went to the Chinese church. In the afternoon, Sam went to Sunday school and taught a class of China boys. In the evening, Sam set out for the mission. Although he walked through the heart of Chinatown, no red paper devils fluttered to his feet, and he never once looked back over his shoulder to see if he was followed. He did not cross the street when he came to the black alleyway, but went boldly past. And he did not squeal when he climbed the mission steps. He had his Chinese Bible with him. Perhaps that was the reason. Or perhaps it was the Sunday school. Or perhaps it was the sermon of the morning. The Monday papers contained an account of a mysterious highbinder murder in which 3 innocent Chinamen had been slain near the Chinese mission by the hatchet boys. As usual, there was no clue to the murderers. End of section 1. Read by April 6090.